When all is said and done and everything is quiet, when things are finally over and the story has been laid to rest, what comes next? Ho, 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 Santa Vaughn one more time, bringing the fun, time, love, and cheer. With what did your characters do after the adventure was over? Reascended to godhood. No, really. I gave them an amnesiac background and let the DM fill in their origin. He decided, which the party found out later during a boss fight, that the character was a fallen god. As a child god, they fell out of the clouds, lost their divinity, and were kidnapped by a mind flayer who split them into 1,000,000,000,000 pieces until only the core remained, who became indistinguishable from a mortal halfling. The revelation caused them to develop a split personality from a mortal's perspective, at least. In reality, it was just a divine being split into facets to personify different aspects of themselves, as gods often do. And after the party saved the world, the alternate personality that represented who they were before the kidnapping took back the divinity they claimed to be theirs by birthright, and waited for the other half, the original PC half, to live a full mortal life so they could merge into one being again. The other half did re-enter divinity, but instead of being a god in the traditional sense, they chose to remain an aspect and be a patron to the celestial warlocks. I've only had 2 characters retire when their venture was over. The first was Tavok Shieldshaker, my dwarven eldritch knight fighter. He retired with his elven fighter friend to open a smithy. Oh, that's actually kind of cute and sweet. The other was Maul, my one-eyed reborn dragonborn sorcerer who was secretly evil. He helped save the sun and as a reward was made a hero of the land and given golden scales. He used his newfound influence to play puppeteer with the politics of the land and influence events to his liking, creating a new empire with him acting as advisor to the new throne. I've had a number of characters who've retired and gone on to have adventures outside of their campaigns. A few of them have become goddesses in a pantheon a friend of mine and I have built up together. So, though they're retired, a lot of my characters tend to make appearances as NPCs in other games. Or I'll end up using them again because sometimes I just don't like to let a good character fade off into the sunset. Delkesh did retire at one point, but then I played him again, so he's still a semi-active character in the campaign. He's currently an NPC, but I play him when he makes appearances. There's also Galleon, whose campaign ended before his story did, but I use him in various one-shots or bring him into campaigns as a temporary character. Torxina's originally story ended when that campaign died out, but I've since brought her back into an active campaign again. I've only had 2 characters truly retire after finishing the campaigns they were in, Annette and Nelkessa. Annette was a pirate captain who became the over-goddess of her world due to some crazy realm-hopping and time-jumping shenanigans while trying to reset the world after a wish gone terribly, terribly wrong. Terrible. So terrible. She now controls all time and space in her realm, and the other members of the party are gods along with her. Nelkessa was an elf ranger I played who married a demigod in-game, and was later promoted to godhood himself. In my game set in the Forgotten Realms, Nelkessa is the elven god of the hunt, serving as a minor deity under Sylvanas. My first ever character, a half-elf rogue named Tharaval Stag, died at the end of my first campaign. He became known in legend as the Silver Dragon. Though he himself wouldn't be remembered by much other than the party, his legacy continued in his niece, who he had saved from the same fate as his brother and sister-in-law. His pendant, gifted to him by the Silver Dragon Zartek, was granted to his niece by the party, and the barbarian pledged to look after her as she grew older. And though he never saw the results of his actions, Zartek would go on to raise a group of warriors named after him, the Stags. And although Tharaval would never see the world saved, he died knowing that he succeeded, and that while his name would not be remembered by most, his deeds surely would. Our good party members became famous explorers and leaders. The cleric became the head of a theocratic government and pursued church reform to expand civil rights and ease tensions after a civil war. The rogue took over the criminal underworld and put it to work overthrowing dictators and smuggling supplies to freedom fighters. The ranger, well, they traveled the world, mapping everywhere he visited, and retired to his home village a hero. Meanwhile, our more differently ethical party members mostly saw positions of power for their own gains. The warlock became a famous gourmet chef and restaurant owner as a cover for her guild of assassins. The paladin started a powerful mercenary group to feed her bloodlust, and the fighter raised an army to conquer a country. True polymorphed into an adult gold dragon and became an immortal king. He became something of a legend, a forester homesteader with the powers to rival a lesser divine entity or match any archdruid, and yet prefers humble acts of compassion to any grand displays of power. Many have claimed to have met him over the generations since the war, an old wise man grabbed in simple clothes and buckskin, accompanied by a large owl who would approach travelers at night and join them at the campfire. He would share his wisdom, teaching any who would listen many different survival skills. Sometimes he would gift powerful herbal medicines to those in need or feed those who were lost and starved. Once he was done teaching, he'd return to the forest and seemingly vanish without a trace. Many young adventurers credit meeting him as the turning point in their lives, the beginning of their growth as the next generations of rangers and explorers when they had otherwise lost hope. I actually really like that, and if you could tell us more, whoever you are, OP, I am very down to hear your stories. I want to know about this old man. Started a bar. He was a drunk monk before the Drunken Master class was released. It's called Rollin' the Barrel. That's great. The character's name is Rollin'. I also have a character I used for one-shots exclusively. His name is Chunk. He's a warforged who changes class depending on what the party needs. He was first made for a 4th edition Tomb of Annihilation game, but due to a joke that him spinning his head caused his head to fall off, I say he switches bodies between adventures. He is a dumb protector who just wants to help people. I just assume he wanders around and helps people randomly, and that's why he's in different one-shots. Again, I kind of want to know more about Chunk. He became a politician. Ew, I'm sorry. That has to be one hell of a bad way to end. After the events of a pirate campaign I'm in, my character, an ASMR wizard, was elected to become a supreme chancellor after rebuilding the government of his homeland. After driving out an invasion from one of the big bad evil guy's generals, who was put in charge of the country. Okay, maybe not so bad of a fate after all. My one character that got to retire, the others either died or the campaign is still ongoing, after the campaign was over, traveled back to his home to reclaim his throne. He was the firstborn son of human nobles whose ancestors had dabbled with demons. A tiefling. They first tried keeping him around and hid him away from the others. But as puberty hit and his will to explore grew, well, that fell apart, so he was sent away to the clergy. He kept in contact with his father, who dearly regretted sending him away. Now, about 15 years later, he is a quite well-known cleric of Kelimivor, and sort of a hero to the realm. We finished the campaign at level 14, so he decided it was now the best time to try to reclaim his inheritance. After all, the people should know of his exploits and welcome him. I have 2 for this. Aoife was a tailor by trade who got recruited into the army as a war mage. After the war was over, she immediately retired back to running the most heavily armed dress shop in the kingdom and became the most renowned dressmaker in the realm. I want to know more. The second campaign started off with her getting dragged off from the dress fitting at her former party member's wedding. She eventually ascends to godhood as the goddess of weaving and becomes the world's goddess of magic after the previous one gets fed up and retires. My second character is Lucy. Lucy was a middle schooler who got iseki'd into an MMO. Over the course of the campaign, it's revealed that there are supernatural creatures and powers in the real world too, and one of them has infected the servers and caused a reality split. At the end of the campaign, she was one of the few people that had returned to the real world. Having been affected by magic, her own magical potential awakens, and she signs a contract with a mysterious benefactor. She then joins the next campaign in the Kamigakuri urban fantasy setting as a magical girl. I hope I said that right, but also that one sounds weird and kind of interesting. I'm happy to learn more. My character was a tiefling wizard who had escaped from a slave caravan 12 years prior with the help of her parents. Unfortunately, her parents were unable to escape, and she lost contact with them for many years. Attempts to find them were fruitless, even with divination magic. During our campaign, Descent into Avernus, my character made a deal with a high-ranked fiend for some information on her parents' whereabouts. Turns out, they'd been residing in a small town shielded from divination magic on the material plane. After El Turl was saved, she set out on another journey to reconnect with her parents. In my first campaign, my character became Queen of the Vampires and restructured their society to hunt demons as revenge for being possessed by one earlier who forced her to kill her one true love. Hey everybody, Santa Vaughn back at it again, just backing up and heading back to the North Pole, everybody. I hope everybody's been doing well. We are very close to 200,000 subscribers, and when we hit that, I, Brian Von VA, will be donning some sort of D&D or adventure-looking garb and going on my stream at Brian Von VA at Twitch to read some random miscellaneous stories and do character voices and try to have fun with some D&D memes. But until then, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and follow over here on YouTube, and of course ring that bell. That way you can get notified whenever we post a brand new video, or in the event that we make another short, you get to see that quickly too. And of course leave a comment down below, because we want to know what your characters did after the adventure was over. Also, how was your holiday season so far? Hope you guys and gals out there have been doing okay. Make that a point in the comments down below too. And if you can, leave me a follow, Brian Von VA, over on Twitch. Trying to get to 1,000 myself so I can become a little bit bigger just before the year is out. I love you all. Please be safe, happy, and healthy. Stay warm and cherish all life. Your family, friends, strangers, and even the animals that you can and can't save. Be good to everything, and good things will come back to you.